warm welcome to Brand Equity with me, Sonali Krishna. The OTT story in India has been nothing short of spectacular, and for this sector, the year 2020 has been a banner year. Netflix, one of the world's largest streaming service, which began operations in India, has been trying to woo the Indian viewer ever since. But their biggest move of all seems to have emerged last week when the streaming major announced a slate of 41 titles in 2021. Well, joining me on the show today is Vice President Content Netflix India, Monika Shergill, and Srishti Behl Arya, Director International Original Films, Netflix. Thank you so much, both you women. Lovely to have you on ET Now.
Thank you, Sonali. Thank you for having us here.
So before I get into the tough questions, I'm going to start with the easy ones. 40 plus titles announced in one shot, never before heard of. Usually we have piecemeal announcements, across all OTT platforms. What was the big trigger to go all out and, have this great shebang and announce your big slate?
I think the big trigger was the months of hard work that the entire team and the creators have been doing to bring these stories to life. And we really wanted 2021 to be a big leap for us as Netflix India in terms of entertaining India. So Ab Menu Mein Hai Sab New was what we've been actually working hard towards. And Srishti can add more to that.
I think it's an ode to the leadership we have. We've all been coming together with this one vision of entertaining India, and lots more to come.
Okay. Now, Monika, I think you have said, in the past that you have realized that, as a service, the Indian audience is ready to experience all kinds of stories, formats, genres, and the core of your strategy lies in variety and diversity. I would like you to kind of explain that to me a little bit in terms of why you believe that we are actually a country that believes in this kind of diversity, and where has that been actually demonstrated, not just in OTT platforms, but just as a content consuming audience?
Actually, if you look at it, we are a very heterogeneous country. Everybody has different tastes in everything, whether it's music, whether the kind of food we have, the festivals we have, how we dress. Every few hundreds of kilometers, everything acquires a whole new color and flavor. And where content is concerned, where stories are concerned, because of the kind of mediums we've been telling stories in, which are more one-to-many mediums, the kind of stories have actually catered to groups rather than individuals. And now with the streaming services coming in, with everybody having a sort of screen in their hand, in their pocket, whether you want to watch on your TV screen, you want to watch on your personal device, there is, that space that's been created to be able to tell one-to-one stories and also one-to-many stories. So if you look at our slate, there are so many stories which are meant to be enjoyed as family, as a bunch of friends, as spouses, as parents and kids. And then there are so many stories which, if somebody in your family or your near and dear one doesn't want to watch with you, they're just for you. You have the liberty to be able to consume that. So therefore, Netflix globally is about different tastes, different moods, and it's about choice as much as you can give. And that's what we focused on.
Fair point. I buy your point. And, if you talk to me as Netflix is a global story, I completely buy your point. But I want to just zoom down into India and, our content viewing habits and our spending habits. So for instance, I think today all OTT platforms that are, essentially SVOD are all targeting, the top 1 to 3% of the audience that is a slightly more sophisticated viewer. And I think Netflix is aiming for an even more sophisticated viewer because of your pricing, because you're the most expensive streaming platform in the country. Having said that, if you've ever looked at, let's say, TV channels, general entertainment channels in the past, and I know both of you have so much experience up your sleeve working for those, being associated and working for those, the reason why TV regressed was because it was a mass following. So don't you think somewhere it's a catch-22 because you want to get the numbers, But if you have to get the numbers, you have to kind of mass base your content. And when you do that, automatically you're not able to create really cutting edge content. So it's a bit tough. I mean, I would hate to have your kind of dilemma.
Actually, it's not a dilemma, I feel that it's tremendous flex that you get. Because, see, TV would be about beaming into your homes. It's about push content. Even when you go to enjoy a film in a cinema, you're deciding to take a ticket. Everybody is sitting there and watching the same thing. But that's not the case with Netflix. Everyone is free to watch what they want to watch, which is why, and Srishti says that beautifully, that which is why we can have a disciple on the service, and we can have a penthouse on the service, or a Sardarka grandson on the service, because everyone's Netflix is different, both from the perspective of the incredible range that we have the ability and the wherewithal to offer, the many stories we can tell, and also from the point of view of your experience with Netflix as a product, because your Netflix, Srishti's, mine are all very different.
I've been speaking to some people who are associated with you very closely, just to get a sense of what are the happenings inside, before I do this conversation with you. And, a significant number said that I think Netflix is clear in terms of their briefs, in terms of what they want. They want candy floss. They want, stuff like Indian matchmaking. They want like your new show, which is all about the big weddings, fabulous lives of Bollywood wives and all of that. So they're very clear with, where they're looking to go. Give me a sense of this path you're taking, because, you finished 5 years and, now you're changing gears. So, give me a sense of how you think that's going to change, the internal workings in terms of subscriptions.
Well, I think, Sonali, depends on who you're speaking with, right? Because we also know that there are strengths that different creators have. And so we obviously try to bring out their strengths and get out what they have a leaning towards. So like, I would say that if you just simply just look at the stuff that we're putting out, we're not expecting a Navarasa, or like, if I was to say things that I'm hoping that you've watched on the service, like when you're watching, say, a Guinea Wed Sunny, and then you also have Pava Kadaigal on the service, right? But we don't go into the conversation with with the director of Guinea Wed Sunny expecting what we go into the conversation with Pava Kadaigal. So I think our job is to bring the creator's vision onto the service and to maximum people, so that our consumers can find whatever they want on our service. But at the same time, we also want them to play to their strengths.
There is, in fact, if I can just tell you, there is not a flavor and there is not a kind of storytelling which is missing. So you will find everything from the most intense, gripping, sort of prestige content, to the most frothy, lean back, just let your hair down kind of, I want to just chill and I want to keep my mind aside. And that's what Netflix is all about. And this is our journey in India. This year is is the beginning of that journey to program Netflix like a full suite service in India.
Okay, coming to, your critics, and, you can tell me if you think that you've been very, harshly judged, but would you be in agreement that, and of course you're young, and we all acknowledge you're young, you're only 3 years into this journey, and your international, shows and, films and all of that have traveled wide and, have done well with even your audience here. That's all well acknowledged. But if you look at, let's say, your Indian programming journey, would you agree with your critics when they say that your Indian originals and movies have yet to really take off, besides, let's say, a Sacred Games, which really took off, and, I would say a Delhi Crime, the effort has not really taken off as, you may have desired?
I think that it's actually gone better than what I could have hoped for.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways, because when you see what happens is that, like I was saying just before this, right, that we have every piece of content then becomes defining. And, it also depends on who likes what, because we're not programming for one kind of person, and we're programming for many people who watch films in many ways, and we see them watching. whether it is our series or our films, and they work for us. That's why we do it. So although it's convenient to kind of brush off certain titles while looking at other titles with more respect, but I think over the line, if we say Bulbul, Ye Ballet, Serious Men, Kali Kuhi, Pava Kadaigal. I mean, I've just rattled off 4 to 5 names across from the 17 right now. So on an average, which we will really be happy. And this kind of viewing, like more than 50% of our viewers, of our subscribers watched Ludo. I think Raat Akheli Hai saw a tremendous amount of critic love as well. But, the ones that don't necessarily get acknowledged by certain people doesn't mean are not enjoyed by different people. And our job as programmers is not to be judgmental towards the viewing choices that people have, right? Because also it depends on like what you're watching. If you're watching Una Bomb or you're watching The Crown, you're not necessarily watching, maybe you were not a fan of Step It Up or Phone Booth or Kissing Booth. I don't know what you think of Bling Empire. I personally love it. So it may have been not showing up for you, not as in like for one. So I think the ability to acknowledge that not only the content that we think, we don't prescribe content. And I think it's a little harsh sometimes that people expect people to only enjoy the content that they like.
I'm sure the 3-year journey in your subscriber pool, given the fact that you are the most expensive streaming service in India, you must have a fair sense of the kind of target group you have as subscribers and what is working in terms of the Indian programming. Like, what are the key trends that seem to be working? It can't be all, right? You must have key learnings from there.
Absolutely, Sonali. In fact, when we make diverse content, like Srishti said, there is content which will be loved, there is content which will be liked, and then there is content which will be liked, by different sets of groups. Right. So it's always about the taste of different sets of audiences. And if there is a cohort which is large enough or very, very large, then that, or the kind of genre it is or story it is, a lot of times, some of the most highly watched content titles actually are not the most talked about. And the vice versa is also true.
Oh, really?
Yes,
Wow.
absolutely. If you look at the top 10 row on any given day, you'll see what people are gravitating towards, what they're checking out, what they're watching. Check the trending row, check the top 10 rows. So different people like different things. And for us, the one North Star is that we are a full scale entertainment service. We are not about only a single title at a time, that we are going to launch this and everybody has no other option but to watch this only. In fact, that is very counterintuitive to Netflix programming, because for us, some people enjoy only documentaries. So why shouldn't we have the best documentary fare? Which is why we are doing true crime documentaries this year. Last year, to add to the film titles that Srishti mentioned about, there was Jamtara on series, which was so loved, and new talent broke out through it. Imtiaz Ali, she did so well, and it's coming back for a second season. Masaba was a very delightful series. It did so well on the service. Mismatched in the YA category did very well. AK versus AK traveled to 40 countries. So, if you just, so for us at any given point in time, it's about really diverse fare, different audience cohorts, who's watching what, and we are constantly learning. At the same time, when Indian content is being loved and enjoyed, and most Indian audiences gravitate to Indian content first, by the way. So they want more and more of it. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, so you're saying they first prefer watching Indian content over your international labels?
Yes. India is amongst the highest local content watch countries, which is why we are programming such a big slate, because Indians love watching Indian stories. Our audiences always look out for them. Even the smallest, most niche film, there's a huge member base that goes and checks it out. Sir has done so beautifully on the service. Cargo did so well. And they're just, I mean, we could name so many titles, so and aside of that, for us, Spanish content does so well, K dramas do very well. Of course, then there's the Hollywood content which does well in its language of origin, and in Hindi. Extraction was the biggest film in Hindi.
Okay, I also feel that as programmers, for you, programming, especially for Netflix, is a lot harder, because while you'll be putting out shows, the fact that we are such a price sensitive nation, and you're the most expensive service, determines will always be there will be that roadblock, because it'll be tougher for you to get subscribers. You did try and pivot, because even when I interviewed Reed Hastings, I kept saying, for the India market, you need to reduce your price, and he kept, first he didn't budge, and he said maybe, who knows. And now the 199 model is out, and just tell me, how has that taken off? I mean, has that really worked? Has that pushed the subscriber base? Because your competition is so cheap. It's so cheap compared to you, that it's really tough for both of you.
Yeah, so I will quickly say this, and Srishti, add if I'm missing out something. So the mobile plan has actually worked very well for us, because it is a mobile first market, and that is the reality of India. We are single TV homes. So people want to watch on their devices also. So the mobile plan has actually really given us a huge boost and an uptick in terms of our member base. And that is why we've also done, I'm sure you know about this, we have a Geo postpaid plan. So we've announced all our Geo plans, I think September last year. And that has broadened the access for us. Our Hindi UI has broadened the access for us.
Sure. 2020 for most of us, was all right because of OTT platforms, because, we could manage to sail through the year, which was a rather difficult and boring year. Having said that, we also saw a lot of movies and a lot of directors and producers taking a call and, releasing directly via you guys. Now we are seeing a push for theatrical releases coming back. And of course, all the big movies, the people are waiting it out if they can. Do you see direct to OTT releases coming down as and when we see a revival in the cinema business?
Sonali, we've always had a film initiative for Netflix, right? So even though we did have a few opportunistic moments where, people were like, they really want to get their stories out, and we thought that it would work for us in terms of for our consumers would enjoy watching it. So we did pick them up, but we, out of 17 titles, we had only, I'm going to say maybe 40% were those that came out of the theatrical. We already had our pipeline in place, which of course was affected just like the rest of the industry. But this is something we've been committed to doing. So we have launched over 30 titles in India already, right? Original Indian language films, because we've had some Marathi as well, and now Tamil and Telugu. So this is something that we remain committed to. We recognize that India loves its movies. 80% of our subscribers, choose to start a movie a week. And that's a huge number. And like I was saying on Ludo, when you're saying you have more than 50% of your subscriber base has actually watched the movie. So, these are huge numbers, and we see the appreciation of that. We have a very robust licensing initiative as well. So it's a good thing for us when the theaters open. I'm dying to go. We've been promising each other that we will go with popcorn and whistle. It's not an either or situation, Sonali. It's an and situation. We remain committed to doing films on Netflix India, as we have been. Films come to us at various stages. Sometimes it's a thought in a creator's mind. Sometimes it's an interpretation of a book they want to do. Sometimes it's a full script that's written and ready to go. Sometimes you have to marry a director into a producer's vision. And on other times, it comes to us as a cut. The point is to get what's best and is going to give the maximum member joy.
Right. Before I let both of you go, tell me the one thing that has completely surprised you in terms of consumer behavior, and the one thing that you think will be a challenge going forward, again, when it comes to this whole content ecosystem.
The one thing that has surprised us is the level of experimentation that the Indian audiences are doing. last year that really surprised us, and actually that enthused us, and it really gave us that confidence to go out and program many more genres that we were only thinking about and mulling whether that's, will somebody watch, not watch. So I think that's something that really surprised us. And where the challenging part is concerned, I would say that I think the demand is more than the supply. Our ability as an industry, as a creative community, to tell high quality stories, I think the audience is ready, not just in India, even the global audience is ready for Indian stories. But we have to have that ability to be able to program as fast and at that level that we want to. We've barely taken baby steps, as we were saying earlier, in premium storytelling. But I think the work is on. As Netflix, we are really committed to the creative community by way of upskilling workshops and really supporting in every which way. So I hope that challenge also is taken care of sooner.
The things that have excited us about the audience, because just even the fact that they're seeing so much of Korean content, or they're so open to seeing more than Money Heist in terms of your Spanish content, and that they would open an Ibaleu with as much excitement as they would open a Ludo. I think the world is our oyster. India is filled with stories. And, there's so much we have to do still. And it's daunting, but it's also terribly exciting.
As much as you're excited about your new slate, so are we. More stuff for us to watch. And thank you for, announcing such a big slate. Truly looking forward to it. More power to both of you. More power to Netflix. More power to the OTT ecosystem. Hopefully you can, storm through all the challenges, and, all of us, because of you and the ecosystem, can have some premium storytelling that we've not been exposed to before. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Bye.